The first week of April has been etched in the annals of severe weather history since 1974, when on April 3rd and 4th, 148 tornadoes struck a 13-state area, killing 330 people and injuring more than 5,000 in a severe weather event known as the Super Outbreak. In addition to the tornadoes, there were about 200 reports of large hail and damaging wind during the Super Outbreak, but those non-tornadic events weren't tracked as diligently then as they are now. I mention this because of what happened this year during the first week of April. During a 24-hour period starting the morning of the 4th, nearly 1,500 severe weather reports were received across 18 different states, a total far exceeding any other severe weather outbreak on record. About 90% of the reports were for strong, non-tornadic winds, indicated here by the blue dots. Here's a unique look at the line of thunderstorms that was responsible. This is a composite of 24 hours of radar imagery, one image about every 3 hours. It shows the fairly steady movement of a long squall line that stayed pretty much intact all the way from the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys to the East Coast, traveling more than 800 miles in one day. The large-scale pattern that set the stage for so many damaging wind reports last week and in many other severe weather outbreaks in the eastern U.S. looks generically like this. You start with a potent low and attendant cold front. Ahead of that front, a strong low-level southerly flow pulls warm, moist air out of the Gulf of Mexico. While meanwhile, at high altitudes, a curvy upper air trough trails to the west, and a speedy jet stream blasts across that front over top of the warm, moist air. Throw in some sunshine ahead of the front, and a line or two of intense, fast-moving thunderstorms will develop along and ahead of the cold front. Here's another example of a system that produced a lot of damaging wind reports. This composite radar image from February 11, 2009 shows a skinny squall line over a 10-hour period that resulted in about 400 reports of strong winds. In fact, this was the biggest severe weather day that year in terms of wind reports. Here's a list of the most active days for thunderstorm wind damage for each year since 2006. Last week's outbreak clearly stands head and shoulders above the rest in terms of the total number of wind reports. But now here's another measure, the number of wind reports of 75 miles per hour or higher, equivalent to hurricane force, what the Storm Prediction Center calls significant wind that unquestionably is capable of producing damage. Now, by that measure, last week's event had the least of all of these, showing how tough it can be to compare severe weather days based solely on one measure. That's especially true now because we're better able to detect and describe these events given better technology, increasing population density, and improved reporting using the web and social media, all of which increase the challenge of putting severe weather events in historical context. Paul Knight is back with the extended forecast next.